Okay.
There we go. So showing my screen, part of the presentation. So welcome everybody to this presentation about a game-based approach using the end zone game, the EZG, as a small-sided football or soccer game that focuses on passing, control and moving for attackers, pressing and delay for defenders. Today's presentation is by David Cooper, who is affiliated with the University of Toronto, Canada, and Barrie Gordon of Victoria University of Wellington, New Zealand. So I'd like to pass over to Barrie.
Kia ora, everyone. I'm Barrie, and that's obviously is David. So, David, can you give us a quick overview of what we're going to be looking at today?
Thanks, Barrie. In our book, Tactical Decision Making in Sport, How Coaches Can Help Athletes to Make Better In-Game Decisions, published by Routledge UK in 2020, we talk about how coaches can use game-based approaches to help players make better decisions during games. Today, we're focusing on football or soccer, especially how we can teach skills and tactics through a series of activities we call the end zone game.
Okay, so you mentioned skills and tactics. One of the questions that often comes up is where does skills fit into a game like this?
That's a good question, Barrie. And sometimes I think when you mention games-based approaches, people who don't understand it do take that point of view of say, well, you just throw them a ball and let them get on with it. But skills are really important and we're not ignoring them. What we're doing differently is introducing them at the right time, as players actually need them within the game. So instead of starting with skills and drills, we start with the game itself. The focus is on learning through playing, developing decision making and bringing in skills when the situation calls for them. To play these games, players will need previously learned basic football skills. So I would say at this point, this model is not for the basic beginner. It requires some skills of soccer and football to be able to make it work.
So really, sorry.
As players,
thank you. We need to wind that back one.
As players, they naturally use key attacking skills like passing, movement, and control, and defensive skills like pressing, delaying the attack, and tackling. As they improve, we move them through a series of end zone games, each one adding a new challenge. We also build in time to reflect. After each game, we stop and ask the players what worked, what didn't, and what could be improved. Each stage builds on the previous one, gradually increasing both the skill level required and game understanding.
Okay, that makes sense.
Let's take a closer look at the slide.
Okay, so that makes sense. What you're saying is you teach the why first and then the how, which is that traditional idea, and then you build on those skills as we go through. Okay, so we've got the first game up there. Can you walk us through that first game?
Well, so we'd like to look at the diagram on the right, which is the field. So we're suggesting 20 metres by 30 metres in a rectangle that's got two end zones, and the middle of the area is where the game takes place. You play 5-a-side, and on our diagram you can see it's XVO. In this first version, the goal is simple. advance the ball into the opponent's end zone using passes only. Let's take a closer look at the slide. So Team X tries to advance the ball and pass the ball into their attacking end zone. So X is going up the field into A, B, C, D, their end zone. Team O is coming down the field, tries to stop them, recover possession, and then advance the ball into their end zone, which is E, F, G, H, to score a goal. Simple rules are there's no dribbling and no offside. If the ball goes out of play on the sideline, the opposing team passes the ball back into play. The ball must be kept under head height, and for safety reasons, we're not allowing any heading. Play is continuous, and it's up to the coach to decide how long. The only instruction the coach might give is, okay, guys, let's play.
So that's how the coach would introduce it, with simply the basic rules and then let's play. Correct?
Yeah. So we're allowing them to get used to the field, the dimensions, the object, the rules, and that's very much the focus of the first game. We're not expecting too much, and if anybody gets the ball into their end zone, that will score them a goal. Play continues all the time, and if the ball goes out of play, as we've said, the other team just basically passes it back in.
Okay, you've played the game a number of times. What sort of responses do you get from the players?
Well, probably they're a bit. They don't quite understand the object of the game. A lot of these guys have played on full pitches or half pitches, so putting them into a smaller area is a challenge for them. And then when you add in no heading and no dribbling, it makes them think about passing and moving. And as I said earlier, the players do need some basic football skills to make the game work. Otherwise, it can turn into what we all know as beehive soccer, where everyone just chases the ball. So that's what we're trying to do. It's very much an explorative experience for the first game.
Okay, so do players say things like there isn't enough space, or there's too many defenders, or it's hard to control the ball, etc.? Those are sort of feedback that you would get.
Yes.
And if that is so, what would the coach say?
Well,
or ask?
That's going to be the main problem. As I said, our expectations of success is really guided by how the game goes. And players often say that there isn't enough space. And so you might answer that with, well, what can we do? Because we like to, in this type of model, we're trying to get the players to suggest ideas. So they might say, well, let's make the field bigger. Let's have less players. Come on, let us dribble. That's what I want to do. But then as the coach, you could choose, and this is very much not one size does not fit all. The coach makes the adaptation. And once players are comfortable and confident, they'll be ready to play the game again. So after playing the game, talking about it, going back and trying to improve the skills we need, we can play the game again, or we can move on to the next version.
Okay, and I really like that idea that you're using the players to come up with answers to the problems that arise, and I think that's really useful. Okay, so if we move on to the second game, attacker on the line, how do you change it? What changes do you make to the first game for this one?
So in this game, we select one of the players and nominate them as the designated player. and the designated player must stay on their end zone line, which is CD or EF. This designated player can move along the line to the left and to the right, but to score, they must control the ball while they're on the line. So if they don't control, if it goes past them, then we restart the game. But to score a goal, the designated player must control the ball on the line.
Okay, so what does that add to the game?
Well, I think this game really emphasises movement. If the designated player stands still, they'll be marked easily. They have to move along the line to create space and give their teammates a passing option. So by moving to the left or moving to the right, it may open up a passing lane to their other players in their team. And communication between the players becomes important.
So you're also getting them to move into space, I presume, to pass into a space and move to a space. Is that correct? That's
right,
what you're hoping to encourage. Yeah. So what about defensively? What is the defensive team? How do they respond to this change?
Well, when I've played the game, the smart teams go and stand on the designated player, and that makes getting the ball to the designated player quite difficult, and it forces the attacking team to think differently and find new ways to create chances. It also opens up opportunities to steal the ball and then start a counter attack going the other way. So it's not just one way direction of play. We go up and go back, and both teams can be attackers and defenders.
Right. So again, you've got that situation of altering the context slightly, or in this case, adding that extra, and that causes players to react to that, thinking and reacting and changing, and to the defence, to the attack, and so forth. Okay.
Absolutely. And
Makes
of course,
sense.
when we've played this game, we stop, we reflect, and we talk about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay, so can we move to the next game, which any attacker on the line?
So
tell us about this game. Yeah.
So this is more complex, and it requires any attacking player to make a move forward to get to their line and receive the ball and control it to score. But in this situation, we introduce simply what we call the modified offside rule, which is that the attacking player must be in front of the defenders before the ball is played, so that they can run past the defenders and control the ball on the attacking line. If they run too early, as in the real game of football, they're going to be offside. So at this point, it makes sense to get them used to the idea that we can't all just rush forward.
And that's a natural progression from the designated player, isn't it? You know, you've got them.
Yes.
So, yeah, they're trying to move in that, and now you're getting more players moving into space and passing into space and running timing runs. So it is a bit more complicated.
I think this game at this point is probably one of the hardest ones to come to grips with, depending on whether the players have any sort of comprehension of offside. They may not. Anyway, we work at it, and hopefully this small-sided game starts to resemble the real game of football, which is what they've been wanting to play for quite a while. Players need to think about timing of runs, positioning, and how to beat this offside rule. And for a while, many of our players have been asked, when can we play the real game?
Yes. Well, as a PE teacher for many, many years, I've heard that question so many times. That's why I thought the TGfU was a really good option. Okay, so if we move on now to the next one, which is play the ball wide, Tell us about that. What the changes, what you're hoping to generate.
So we carry forward the rules from the previous game, which includes offside. But in this game, where we've been playing 5 against 5 in a small area, the attacking team and the defensive team put a player, designated a player, to stay on the touchline, which is not shown on the diagram, but so that would reduce the number of players in the centre of the field.
Right.
And one of the rules that we add is before you can score a goal, you have to pass the ball to the wide player on the touchline, and then they have to play it forward, and the attackers have to run onto it. And this time, anywhere in the end zone is good enough to score a goal, as long as you can control it. Now, one of the benefits is if we move the ball wide, then the defenders will shuttle across. And this will leave space where they've come from. So the attacking players will have more space, and if they can see the move, they can run onto it.
Right. So it opens up the middle by getting it to pass wide. So just to confirm, if the player on the outside receives the ball, they've now protected. They can't lose it. You can't take the ball off the person who's got it on the outside. Is that correct?
No, that's it. The defending players can't cross the sideline.
Right. So
that
you really
could be a development, though, Barry. You know, all these games can be developed.
Yeah.
So you could add a defender there.
So that really is a big advantage to encourage them to pass wide at this for this game. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
And if you do this, if you lose possession, and if the defending team then becomes the attacking team, and then they've got to pass it wide. And so the game goes backwards and forwards and becomes quite an interesting game, mimicking real football.
So it's getting quite complex. Is that be fair?
That would be a very fair statement. But that's good, because this is the final step, the final small-sided game that we're going to play before we move on to the more realistic game, which is called the half-pitch game. So
okay. Sorry, is that the final stage? And that's what we're going to be looking at now.
And that's what we've been working to. And we hope that when we get to the half-pitch game, things work.
Okay. So have we got a slide for that?
Yes, there
we go. Great.
So this looks something like most people will recognise. We've got half a pitch. We've got attacking team with 8 players and a defending team with 7 players. And we hope the players can apply all the skills and tactics they've developed earlier in a setting that looks and feels like a real match. We want to use normal football rules, except for the size of the teams. And what we do now is we structure the game, and we give the attacking team 10 chances to score a goal. And a chance is an attack that starts on the halfway line and plays out until the ball goes out of play for a goal kick, or the goalkeeper has possession of the ball. Play continues like in a real match, with throw-ins, corners, free kicks, turnovers. If the defending team gains possession, they can try to score a goal by passing the ball back to the coach. And you see on the diagram, the coach is on the halfway line.
Oh, yeah.
So if the coach can receive the ball, the defending team can score. Sorry about that. But as we said, if the goalkeeper gets the ball or it goes out of play for what would have been a goal kick, then that chance is finished. And we start again with a second chance. And so the attacking team starts again on the halfway line, and we continue to play. At some point, depending how long it takes to score, we might switch the players around. So some attackers become defenders, and that gives everybody a chance to play in different positions.
Yeah, which is a good idea. And I just to go back just to confirm, you've unbalanced the teams, so you've got one more attacker than defender, which again is a really good way to get that little bit of extra space, isn't it? So what's the players' reaction to this when they've moved through the sequence and now they're playing half court?
Oh, they really love this, and sometimes they forget everything they've been taught.
Gosh, that's unusual.
And they go back, and sometimes you might have to stop this game and say, hey guys, can you remember what we've been doing in the other games, how we put players wide and things like this, and we learnt the offside trap. So that's the first thing. So I really like the opportunity. They really like the opportunity to play on half the pitch. I mean, straight away, there's much more space. And so depending on how advanced or how much they've learnt, this game can represent or be something like a real game, using this game knowledge and skills that they have acquired.
Okay, so you've run this sequence many times, I understand. You know, if from your experience of doing that, what's a major thing that the coaches should keep in mind?
I think the biggest thing that coaches should understand, that moving from the first end zone game through the games to the half pitch game takes a lot of time. Just because there are 5 diagrams and 5 progressions, the progression is not linear. You may have to go backwards and forwards. You may have to, really spend time before you get to this half pitch game. Takes a lot of time and repetition to understand and master these objectives. We know players and athletes don't always progress at the same speed, and sometimes, as I said, you have to go back and maybe re-practice or enhance their skills to play this game. I think about this as maybe something you could do in the winter, if you've got a winter program and a facility, that maybe you could use this progression or this model as a backbone of your indoor training sessions.
Yeah, and I think what the point you just made is an important one, that these games do expose the need for particular skills, and that is a much higher level of motivation to learn them when they can see the context that they could use them in and the limitations. So yeah, that's good. Hey, so what are other sort of challenges have you faced, or you think our coaches may face in implementing the program?
Well, some of the challenges revolve around the space and the facilities that coaches have to run this program. I was lucky when I was coaching young players that I had outdoor fields and that I could create 10 by 10 meters grid patterns. But today, I don't think this happens too often. Excuse me. So we have to look and be creative. If the only thing you have is a soccer pitch with artificial turf and lines, how are you going to use that? So if you look at the diagram, maybe there's if you can take the outside lanes of the penalty area and extend them to the halfway line, there you've got your end zone game area. You could use pylons to mark off the area for the touchline. And I think by this stage, it's really important that young players learn to play within the lines, because that's what they're going to play when they play a competitive game. So they might as well learn to understand that this game of soccer or football is played within the lines. So like all practices, coaches will need to adapt according to what they have. But I think if you stick with the process, the improvement in understanding and decision making can be really significant.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that having pylons as part of the lines would encourage them to stay within the lines. Okay,
Yes.
so thanks for that, David. Before we close, one of the things that you and I have talked about previously to this is that, for coaches, this is not merely for football/soccer, but any invasion or territorial game. And, it could be basketball, it could be hockey, whatever. The same principles could be followed. Is that correct? Have you actually tried it with other sports or seen it tried or not?
I've seen it tried with field hockey because
Okay.
that's the easiest way to compare. You've just got a stick and a ball, a small ball, rather than your foot and a soccer ball. So I've seen some, in certain schools, they've followed along this sort of development line.
Yeah.
If you did it with basketball, I guess you'd have to tweak the rules. But
Yes.
that's not beyond doing.
Yeah, as you were going through that, I could see basketball, because I coach basketball, that being one of the really interesting ones. The outlet pass, as isn't passing wide, etc. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so that brings us to the end. So first of all, thank you very much, David, for your presentation. Alan, thank you very much for organising this, facilitating the presentation. And we're hoping that for the people watching, they've picked up some ideas. They can take this, play with it, see how it all goes, and maybe even go and look at the book afterwards. So thank you very much, Alan. Thanks, David, and we'll call it there.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you very much. So just to let you know, whilst we're sort of finishing this off, the recording is going to be made available online, and there will be a feedback form for you guys to get in touch with Dave or Barrie. You can add your comments on there, or of course you can contact them via the emails on the screen. So I would personally, on behalf of the TGfU Special Interest Group, like to thank David and Barrie today for your presentation, and hopefully we can get some more of these games coming through on the website. So thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Alan.
Amahi. Oh, good. Done. Well done, David.